Hey, I was thinking, and so I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts with you. I'm hungry. And I was thinking, what am I going to eat for breakfast? I want some oatmeal. I normally make steel cut oatmeal with some peaches, some frozen peaches, little vanilla, and some brown sugar. I'll cook it in my crock pot, and it's like a wonderful breakfast. It's a treat. But I don't have any frozen peaches, and I just don't feel like going to get any. So there's that. So I started thinking, what's the next best thing? And I thought, grits. I don't think I have any grits. I love grits from the Amish country, but I don't think I have any. So I don't know what I'm going to eat. But it made me think of something from when I volunteered with the National Urban League. You may recall if you saw this, I posted a podcast that I recorded at the convention or the conference. They had a podcast area that you can go record. It was set up. It was really cool. And since I was sitting there, I said, well, let me just record something. And so I did it day one and talked about all the things that I learned or heard by attending the sessions. I did the same thing for day two, but because it was much longer, I couldn't just download it to my phone. I needed to upload it to some Google Drive they had, and then they send it to me, etc. So the guy took my number. He was supposed to send it. He didn't. By the time I remembered, too much time had passed. You don't remember who I am, don't know where the video is. So I never really talked about the second day. And so I want to talk about a little bit of it right now because one of the things they asked during the plenary session is, what do you think that Black people spend the most money on? What do you think? I'm asking that question to you. My first thought went to tennis shoes. I don't know. I really didn't have an idea. But you know what the answer was? Grits. Grits. How much grits are we eating? Like, I was just really surprised by that. But it was something because I learned some things I didn't know. The other thing that I learned is that Black people in this country, we spend 2 trillion with a T, TR, $2 trillion a year. That is a lot of money. And just think if we could come back and recycle that money in our communities, how we could be so much better. They know that, which is why they don't want us to come together. Because if we did ever come together, we could make a huge change in our community, in our families, in our wealth situation. We have to do better. We have to do better. And I know, a lot of times when you try to support Black businesses, you're not happy because of the customer services. The prices are higher. There's factors. But we cannot allow that to stop us. We know that there are other communities that support their own. We have to figure out how to do it, especially in the times we're living in now, in the times where the government is trying to take us back to beyond, well, before the 1950s. Like they're trying to take us back. So we cannot afford, and I'm saying that literally, we cannot afford to go backwards. We can learn from the past, but we can't repeat it. And so we need to rely on one another during this time so that we can make our communities better. But speaking about that, someone asked a question like, are we going to be a country of ignorance or one of intelligence? Now, yesterday I told a story how someone said that I was smart and that's what they appreciate about me. And I talked about how I used to be really, 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 really smart. And now I'm just really smart. Still smarter than most, but I feel like that chemo changed my brain. But I will say this, that is one of the reasons why I love reading, Because even though I may not know everything, I learn something all the time when I'm reading books. Why do you think they want to ban books? They don't want to ban it just to ban them so that Black people don't make money off these books. That's not the reason. They don't want us to have the knowledge that is in those books. They're afraid of it. And so I dare you to go get a banned book and read it for yourself. You don't have to go buy it, you can get it from the library. Read some of these books that are banned. Another thing they talked about is the Black press and how it isn't being taken seriously. I was watching something yesterday and CBS wasn't reporting what was really happening. They turned their cameras another way and made it look as though it was something different than what it was. And the person who was reporting reminded us that it's hard to trust mainstream right now because they have bowed to Trump. They are putting out the things that he wants you to see. We are already Russia. At least yeah, we're Russia because we don't have any reliable mainstream media to rely on. We don't know what's true and what's not. That's why we have to pay attention to the smaller journalists, the ones who we like, the ones we believe and trust. And Black media should be a part of that. But we're not given a fair chance. A lot of times we don't even pay attention to what Black media is saying because we don't like the person. Like we have Roland Martin, who has a whole news show that we can support. And it's not biased based on what a Trump wants them or him to show. He is showing what is out there. But even if you don't use him, find someone who you can trust to get your information from. Because the thing about media shapes your mind. It shapes what you believe what is good versus what is bad. It shapes what you believe what is important versus what's not important. And a lot of times, what's important or media wants you to believe is important is not important. It's not. What's important is people losing their jobs. What's important is these people being illegally kidnapped and sent out of this country. Those are the things that's important. Not all the distractions that Trump puts out there, but we see them. But they get to deem what is important for Americans and what's not. During this time, they talked about how we've lost more than 250,000 jobs, that it's a crisis, and nobody is ringing the bell. Nobody, nobody. So we can't waste time on distractions. And the other thing with that is that Black women are losing jobs at an alarming rate. This is why he fired that person who put out the job reports the other day, because it's not pretty at all. But he doesn't want his name to be tarnished because of what he is doing. The other thing they talked about, which if you're watching this, you're guilty too, is that, and this is Black people, this is for Black people, that we are the highest consumers of social media. Black people. We watch Facebook videos, Instagram videos, TikTok videos more than anybody else. So, one, we're wasting time. But two, we don't even have people in any leadership, any powerful positions in these companies. But yet, we're the biggest consumer. Again, yeah. What else did they talk about? AI, that we need to leverage AI, not let AI get ahead of us. Like we need to be in the game now, taking some courses to learn how to use AI to better ourselves, better our businesses, better this world because AI is here, you know, and we're being left behind. So we need to get on top of that. They talked about the DEI and the anti-DEI. And they were saying anti-DEI is anti-data. Like they don't want the numbers out there. They don't want you to see the numbers. It's obvious, right? Because that's why Trump fired the labor secretary, whoever the person was. They don't want you to see the real numbers that's out there. And that's not even just about Black people. It's about the people who are gay. It's about the people who are disabled. It's about all of it. They don't want you to do that. And you know, they talked about disinformation. And a lot of times we say disinformation and misinformation and use those words interchangeably. I try to make sure that I don't because they're not the same. The thing about misinformation, it's just the wrong information that's being put out there, but it's not put out there to cause harm or anything like that. When you deal with disinformation, it is calculated, it is funded, okay? It is a reason they're putting that information out there that's not right. So, what can we do? We definitely need to ensure that everyone is voting, that they're registered to vote, that they will exercise that vote and understand the importance. And I get that a lot of times people say that it doesn't matter who's running this country, who's in that position, because their life doesn't change regardless. I think that this president has shown us that that is not the case because when people start losing their benefits come next year after elections, they're going to feel it. It makes a difference. So while Trump is trying to have us distracted, we can't allow that to happen. We have to figure out ways to be attracted or to attract people, I guess I should say, to the truth. We have to do it. And so, you know, I try not to speak much about politics because as it does with a lot of other people, it gets in your system and it just doesn't feel good. But I will share whatever I see that I think is important because I think we all need to have awareness as to what's going on in this country. Every day it is something else that you're like, are you serious? And they are. They have a plan and they are executing that plan. And it's cruel and it's going to keep people poor and it will kill people. So we have to be the voice of truth that's out there. Yeah. There's a lot more that I learned. I may do a part two to what we talked about, of part two of what we talked of what they talked about at this Urban League. But I will just say this, you know, we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and recognize that we are the change, right? We under we underestimate what God has given to us. We underestimate who we are. And so we need to be intentional about taking our responsibility seriously. This time in 2025 is going to be a pivotal time in history. A lot of us probably had the thoughts like, if I was born in the 19 whatever and I was around during the civil rights movement, who would I have been during that time? Would I have been the one who did nothing, that said nothing? Or am I going to be out there? And I'm not saying marching because I'm not marching. We know that's what they want. But am I going to use what I have to help in this movement that we're in right now? And part of it is boycotting places that don't value who we are. So, my question to you is what are you going to do? How are you going to show up and resist during this time? All right, take care. Bye bye.